This film shows you the dismantling of cylinder head, piston and main bearing of the Wartsila 22HF engine in the mentioned sequence and the reassembly of the parts in the opposite order. Before you start the work, note the following. Shut off starting air. Shut nozzle cooling heating cocks. Disconnect pre-lubricating oil pump. Drain off water from engine. Remove the protecting cover of the hot box for the injection pumps by unscrewing the hand wheels and by lifting up the cover by the handles. Remove the cylinder head cover by unscrewing the hand wheels and by lifting up the cover. After this, first remove the cooling water pipe, which has been designed to facilitate disassembly also when servicing individual cylinder heads. The cooling water pipe consists of parts which are connected with flange connections to a water draining piece from each cylinder head. O-rings are used as sealings. Remove the hexagon socket screws in the flanges by using a 6mm hexagon socket screw key. If the pipe flanges have stuck, give a tap with a plastic hammer. Remove the pipes. Remove the cover of the exhaust pipe protecting box from the cylinder head side. By using a 19mm key, remove 4 M12 screws. As you can see, the cover has been fitted accurately in place. Due to heat, it can sometimes change in form and become tight, which means that some force might be required to remove the cover. Unscrew the exhaust pipe fastening screws by using a 19mm key. Unscrew the air pipe fastening screws with an M10 hexagon socket screw key. Remove the protecting plate from the air pipe bend. Open the indicator cocks with an M16 special socket wrench. Remove the flywheel protecting plate. This is at the same time a protection against unintentional starting of the engine. Turn the engine to a position where the push rods of the cylinder head being disassembled are free. Dismantle the bearing bracket of the rocker arms by unscrewing 4 M12 self-locking nuts with the help of an M19 special socket wrench and a ratchet. Remove the nuts by using an M19 open-end wrench. Remove the bearing bracket by lifting it up by hand. Remove the yokes. Remove the push rods. Remove the nozzle cooling heating oil pipe by undoing the hollow screws from the cylinder head with a 14mm loop wrench. And a 17mm open end wrench for the union nuts situated at the distributing pipes. Remove the pipes. Dismantle the fuel injection pipe by unscrewing the nuts at both ends with an M27 fork open end wrench. Remove the hollow screw of the lubricating oil pipe to the rocker arm bearing bracket by using a 14mm wrench. Unscrew the union nut of the control air pipe of the starting air valve with a 14mm open end wrench. Remove the water pipe connection piece from the cylinder head by using a 10mm hexagon socket screw key. Remove the protecting cups of cylinder head studs. Undo the fastening screw of the cylinder head cover. Put on the distance sleeves and cylinders of the hydraulic tool. Connect the hoses. Diagram of the tool. Open the valve of the hydraulic pump. Tighten the cylinders starting with the one farthest away from the pump. Then open the cylinders 180 degrees. Close the valve of the pump. Raise the pressure by pumping to 520 bar, which is the opening pressure of cylinder head nuts. Undo the nuts half a turn by using a special pin. Let the pressure slowly out of the hydraulic cylinders. Disconnect the hoses from cylinders. Protect the adapters with the plastic plugs of the hoses. Loosen the cylinders by unscrewing them from the studs. Remove the cylinders and distance sleeves. Protect the adapters with plugs of the cylinders. Remove the nuts. Install the cylinder head lifting tool, one end in the fixing hole of the water pipe and the other in the rocker arm bearing bracket stud. Lift up the cylinder head, but be careful not to damage the exhaust gas thermometer, cylinder head stud threads, as well as the connection piece of the starting air valve. Remove the cylinder head sealing with the protecting tubes of push rods. Piston withdrawal. Protect the piston head with a cloth. Scrape the soot off the cylinder liner upper part with a scraper or a knife. Clean the cylinder liner and piston head of soot. Clean the threaded hole in the piston by using an M12 tap. Fit the piston lifting tool into the piston. Tighten the tool with a 19mm wrench. Hang the lifting tool rope on the tackle hook to secure that the piston stays in place. Remove the crankcase cover. Install the hydraulic cylinders with distance sleeves into the connecting rod bolts. Connect the hoses into the cylinders and hydraulic pump. The valve of the hydraulic pump being open, tighten the cylinders by hand and then open them half a turn. Raise the pressure up to 575 bar. Undo the nuts half a turn by using a special pin. Let out the pressure slowly. Detach the hoses. Remove the cylinders with distance sleeves from the connecting rod studs. Remove the lower nut of the connection rod. Also remove the lower stud by using a tool specially made for this operation. Loosen the upper stud with the same tool and support the big end bearing cap by hand. remove the stud and nut by unscrewing them simultaneously. Dismantle the big end bearing cap with bearing. When withdrawing the piston, the big end bearing shell may loosen from its housing and get damaged. It's therefore advisable to remove the bearing when the connecting rod is low enough to facilitate the operation. When withdrawing the piston, be careful not to damage the cylinder liner or piston. Dismantling of main bearing. To dismantle the main bearing housing, first unscrew the side screws with the help of an M22 hexagon socket screw key, X4 torque multiplier, and torque wrench. Unscrew the screws on both sides of the main bearing housing to be dismantled, but remove the screws only from one side. Also, open the side screws of the bearing on each side of the bearing to be opened. Diagram of the main bearing. Fit the hydraulic cylinders with distant sleeves in place, the same as used for the removal of cylinder head. As you can see, everything needs practice. Connect the hoses. Raise the pressure to 560 bar. Remove nuts and cylinders as shown earlier. This tool is intended for the loosening and removal of main bearing housing. We do this as follows. Remove the nuts. One side screw is still in place to prevent the bearing housing from falling. Put the top of the tool into the hole of the bearing housing. Fit the extension bars into the box. Remove also the other one of the side screws. Pictures of lifting and lowering. Lower the main bearing housing. Assembly. Lift up the bearing housing and assemble it in the opposite order as when dismantling. Monoblock nodular cast iron piston. The reasons for choosing this design can be summarized. The piston is safe. Start the piston assembly by installing the piston rings. First, install the oil ring spring into the lowest piston ring groove. Fit the oil ring proper onto the spring by hand. The spring joint and the piston ring cap shall be on opposite sides. The next piston ring, which is marked with top on the upper side and has a shaped lower edge, is a combined oil and compression ring. Install it into the third groove by using piston ring expander. Install the hard chromed compression ring, which is also provided with the mark top, into the groove number 2. Finally, install the upper piston ring groove, a similar ring as in the groove number 2. Turn the piston rings into positions where the ring gaps are 90 degrees from each other. A pressure lubricated piston. The clearance between the cylinder liner and the piston skirt is constantly filled with clean lubricating oil during all operating conditions, even during pre-lubrication. Grease the piston with lubricating oil and check that the piston rings move freely. Install the piston ring guiding tool in place. Install the piston lifting tool into the M12 threaded hole situated in the piston head. Note that the tool is crosswise to the engine. Before installing the piston, fit the connecting rod big end bearing cap in place. Do not oil the contact faces of bearing and connecting rod. Lubricate the cylinder liner and crankshaft pin. Be careful not to damage the cylinder liner when lowering the piston. Remove the piston ring guiding tool. Install 4 pieces of rubber sealings for cooling water inlet holes to cylinder head. Install the cylinder head sealing in place. Also renew the sealing for the exhaust pipe and the O-ring for the air bend. Lower the cylinder head and be careful not to damage cylinder head studs, exhaust gas thermometer and sealing faces. Tighten the cylinder head nuts with a hydraulic tool. Tightening pressure is 500 bar. Install the connecting rod in opposite order as when dismantling. This was a brief description of dismantling and reassembling of the major components which may be necessary to remove during the maintenance. Especially during the guarantee period, follow as closely as possible the maintenance schedule explained in the Engine Manual, Chapter 04. You can find all kinds of further information about the engine and maintenance in the Engine Manual. For further information, you can also contact agents that we have all over the world, or our own service department at the Vasa factory in Finland, Wartsila Diesel in Sweden, or Wartsila Power Singapore in Singapore.